Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You already know what it is, man. So let's get right to it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about this whole Young Dolph situation a little bit more, right? Well, there was something that took place last night. There was an interview that went down, and there's a channel, it's called Just Say No to Sco. And dude hit me up, man, and let me know he was going to be doing an interview. I think he was in the comments. So everybody tuned in. It was a really good interview. I must say that, man. Dude did his thing. He asked a lot of questions. I'm talking about they covered every aspect to every conspiracy theory about Makeda's bakery. And in the interview, he was talking to none other than the owner's daughter and one of the people who has been, man, we could say highly criticized in social media and on YouTube. Now, he took a fair and balanced approach at this interview and gave her the opportunity to say her piece and clear Makeda's name from all the conspiracy theories that are floating around. Now, as the story went on, they went to breaking down different details and we started to find out some new and valuable information in the case of Young Dolph. Now, before we get to the specifics and talk about everything they covered and the reaction from everybody on social media, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and man, let's get it. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, man, let's talk about this whole interview that took place last night from Just Say No to Sco or Crisco, and he was interviewing Raven, and I think her name on the screen was Jamaica or something like that. But regardless of that, she's one of the employees as well. She's the sister of the guy who already talked in an interview before, and she's the daughter of the owners of the store. Now, she has had her name dragged through this whole situation because of some things that she said on social media. And when I say social media, I mean the clips going around social media. She was doing interviews, like radio interviews previously. I guess she was on Jerry Springer before. So it was a whole lot of things that people were looking at her with the side eye, right? So they went over a couple of things during the interview I want to touch on. Now, one of the things they talked about was that Dolph, how did he get there? Was he by himself? And did he come there a lot by himself a lot? You know what I mean? Most of the time. And she touched on that and said that Young Dolph often went to Makeda's and he was by himself a lot, man. Like, it's his hood, it's his part of town, so it was not odd for him to just pull up. Now, what was different was what he ordered. Usually Young Dolph ordered one thing and he got something totally different this time, right? And that was the only difference between this trip and the last. Another question that was hot out there was about the security, man. What was up with that dude, man? How come he was getting taken away and arrested or whatnot? We seen in the footage. And she broke it down like this, that basically he was pounding on the door and then, he got taken away because, he was emotional at the time. She also talked about the rumor that Dolph called in the order. And this was a lot of people were worried about or wondering about. Because if he called it in, that would give people this time to set up against him and all that, and all this type of conspiracy type stuff. And she said no, he had never called in an order. It was always he would pull up. And in this case, it was the same thing, right? Now, the next set of questions were they were revealing as well. So they said that Young Dolph, he had no business ties to the business because there was a rumor out there that Young Dolph had some sort of ties to the business. And then they backed that again with a question about Yo Gotti. They asked, did they have any dealings with Yo Gotti or any business? Now, as far as she's concerned, she said the only thing they know that she knows about is they've been to Yo Gotti's restaurant, Privé, a couple of times, or maybe just her parents, maybe once, I think she said they went there. And that was it. Like, they don't have any business dealings with him. There's no backdoor deals going on or anything like that. Now, she also touched on the point that she has her own artist named Trigger Trey that she's promoting out there, man. And she's still trying to keep one foot into the entertainment industry as well as help run the family business. Now, Makeda's Bakery has had several people come out on their behalf and talk about the things that took place there and how they wish it never took place. It seemed like a lot of people, the original reaction when she was talking, a lot of people were feeling her and were really sympathetic and empathetic to what's going on with Makeda's Bakery after this tragedy took place in their spot, right? Now, what's even wilder is the news interview that she did. That she was interviewed by the Channel 5 News there locally. that has come back up and people are starting to look at that footage again. So let's take a look at that and compare it to what we learned in the interview.
I wasn't in the store. We just basically, thank you. Basically, we just got a phone call from my dad. He was in the store. He's one of the owners. And he just told us that somebody was shot. We didn't know who it was at first. We was just like, okay. I thought it was, one of the employees. So we was kind of distraught at the time. But, we heard my cousin in the background. He was just basically like, man, he gone. Somebody shot him. He gone. And I'm like, who gone? We just trying to figure out what was going on. And then you could hear my dad, he was just like, stay with me, Dolph. Just stay with me, brother. He kept saying it. So that's when we was like, okay, it was Dolph. So it was kind of... It was real fast. He said it was my dad was just like, it was real fast.
Now, in that interview, she said that she originally received a call from her father, and at first they didn't know if it was Young Dolph or who it was who had been shot. They were just being notified that the shooting had taken place. Now, in the interview, she also elaborated on this by saying there was actually 2 calls that took place, and that with those 2 calls, that one said more information than the other. In the first call, she could only hear, she didn't know it was Dolph. And then in the second call, she started to find out more information because she could hear people in the background saying things like, stay with me, Dolph, and stuff like that. And that's how she knew, right? Now, a lot of people are poking holes into this and saying that it kind of contradicts what she said earlier, but she kind of cleared it up by letting it be known that there were 2 calls. Now, what's interesting is the fact that most of the information that has been placed out there, it seems like it's been taken from some of the interviews that have been done on these news stations. And, for all intents and purposes, people are going to look at that as verified information. But according to her, that some of the things she said during the interview was left out. It was actually 15 minutes long. I think the clip that was put out there by the news station was maybe 5 minutes at that, 3 or 4 minutes maybe. And, she started to give more details about the things that we don't know about and that a lot of people were drawing conspiracy from, right? Because there was also clips that were out there talking about the fact that they had a bad relationship with one of the, the owners of the lot that they lease or that they rent space from to have Makedas at. And it seems like they have several locations. Now, they also talked on a couple of other things in this news interview that I want to compare to the story. So let's look at this.
Real quick situation. So we real hurt by it. He was a real, good dude. He came to the store all the time. When he was in Memphis, Makeda's was one of his stops. So it's really tearing us down a little bit. We pray for the family. It's a senseless tragedy. We just really want them to know that we back them 100%. And we just really want, we really just wish this would just stop. This is just too much for us, So it's affecting our family now because we do consider Dolph, anytime you walk into there, walk into Makeda's, you consider family.
Now, in that interview, she said that it's affecting her family and that they wish that all this would stop. Now, when she was doing this interview, I think she was actually talking about the fact of all the violence that's been going around in hip hop and stuff like that, right? Or even just in Memphis in general, right? Now, to be real, in the interview with Sco, she talked about, how this has affected the workers there, how they've had to go and get therapy and stuff like that. And it's like really had a deep effect on everybody. Because think about this, man. Nobody wants something tragic like this to happen at their business. That's not what you want your business to be known for. It makes people uncomfortable when they want to eat there or do anything, even though the local community there has been supportive. They tried to, reach out to them. Although there's another aspect of this where she says that the local community, there's some people who have started to shun them. So we'll see how this plays out, in the end. But hopefully their business gets back in order, especially if they're legit and they didn't do anything wrong, right? Now let's look at this other part of the interview that she did previously before this Sco interview.
Yeah, so we just.
Were you? So your dad, you were on the phone with your dad when it happened?
I was on. It wasn't when it happened. It was right after. He called us like directly after the shots were fired and Dolph was hit.
And you can hear him saying, "Dolph, stay with me."
Yeah, we heard him say that, and he was just, man.
Now,
it's a lot.
She basically broke down the 2 separate calls. How somebody was in the background. She said originally during this interview, she didn't know if it was her dad or if it was somebody else in the back talking to Dolph, you know what I mean, as he was taking his last breaths. Sad situation, man. Horrible to say the least, man. Now, also, she cleared up a couple of other things about the security camera and the layout of the building. But if you want to hear all that in detail and the words straight from her mouth, make sure you check out Just Say No to Sco's interview. It's long. I think it's like 2.5 hours, but it's a lot of detailed information. And they gave some people the opportunity to come in and ask their own questions of, of her and what went down that day and what took place and how they've reacted since then. You know what I mean? Very good interview. I liked hearing about all these details, and we'll see if this leads to a suspect eventually being caught or not, man. I know a lot of people are still kind of, iffy because of her presentation and how she was talking, but, until we get something solid, I don't know what to say about this whole situation. It just seems like a tragedy all across the board. Now, with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I drop this hot content. And we out of here. Peace.